talk to you guys today about is how to hack your learning so you don't have to wait for years for it to happen accidentally. I think people in general agree that our current education system is deeply flawed. And there are a lot of brilliant adults who are trying their best to come up with a new system. And something new and something better might get invented pretty soon. But not soon enough for you. Stop waiting for adults. I don't want to talk about why or how our schools fail. I want to talk about practical things that you can do right now. Stop waiting for adults to come up with a better education system because you have the power to rock it right now. We're living a pretty amazing time. We have all kinds of resources at your fingertips. And we live in a time that is scary because it's changing so fast, like never seen before in human history. I would say in 15 years, some people predict that in 15 years, by 2030, 2 billion current jobs will disappear. And 65% of school children today will be doing work that currently don't exist yet. So we can no longer see school as job preparation. In our time period, your ability to learn is more important than ever. But we have all the resources you need to become better. These are examples of courses that you can take online. A lot of these courses you can take for free or for a very small fee. You don't have to get accepted by Stanford to take Stanford courses. And that is just a tip of the iceberg. In the past, I would say world-class experts were out of reach for most people. Not anymore today. A lot of those world experts offer blogs, do podcasts, do YouTube videos, and you can almost have them. It feels like you can have them talk to you in your living room by watching or listening to their podcasts or videos. So you have all the resources that you need right now to create your own curriculum. You want to go beyond the academics? Absolutely. You can learn about financial intelligence. You can learn about how to hack your psychology. So your question might be, how do I best take advantage of all of these resources? By starting to reprogram the way you think. Learning doesn't have to be boring. I think a lot of you guys, because of your school experience, sometimes maybe associate learning with boring. You yawn, you want to check your Facebook, you want to check your Instagram. I'm going to tell you that you can change the way you think about learning by using 3 top skills. And these are the 3 top skills I'm going to talk about. The first skill is what I call meta-learning or super learning. The second skill is hacking. And I'm not talking about computer hacking. I'm talking about hacking your life, hacking your brain, hacking your body. The third skill is mindset training, or I call that inner game. Let's start with the first skill, super learning or meta-learning. Let me ask you this question. How long do you think it would take for you to learn a new language, become fluent at a new language? What if I tell you that you can become fluent at a new language in 1 to 3 months if you enhance your super learning skills? Before you learn something new, let's take a step back and look at the act of learning itself. If that's a process, that can be improved. So ask yourself these questions. How do I usually learn? Can that process be made better, made faster, made more fun? Super learning is about learning how to learn. If learning is so important, then wouldn't learning how to learn be even more important? Wouldn't that save you maybe hours, weeks, months of time over your lifetime if you have to keep learning and relearning because our world is changing so fast? So the first skill is super learning. Let me give you an example of a super learning technique. Let's continue using language as an example. The technique is what I call is called the 80-20 principle. Not just I call it, other people call that too. The 80-20 principle. So the 80-20 principle dictates that 80% of the result that you get comes from 20% of the work that you do. So when you're learning a new language, you want to think about what were the 20% of the work that's going to help you get 80% of the result. In learning new words, usually it takes about 600 words for people to understand 80% of the daily conversation. So a super learning technique would be for you to find out what those 600 words are and start by learning them. And that's going to help you get 80% of the results. When you can learn things faster, learning becomes a lot more fun because you feel accomplished. So that's the first skill, 80-20 principle. You can use the 80-20 principle not just in learning languages, but any subject that you learn. Or once you start working, any work that you do. The 80-20 principle is really just one out of hundreds of super learning techniques that you can use. Imagine if you can master hundreds of super learning techniques. You're going to feel like you have a superpower. The second skill is hacking. What does hacking mean if it's not computer hacking? Hacking is about finding unconventional ways of doing something more effectively. What do hackers do? Hackers violate rules that we usually expect a system to run and find a hidden way that's more effective. So I want you to use a hacker mentality when you're taking care of different aspects of your life. You can hack your productivity, you can hack your happiness, you can hack your learning process. So let's think about an example. Let's say when you are studying or working, okay? The first step of hacking is to forget about your preconception and ignore the obvious. So maybe your preconception of working is, what do you usually do when you study or when you work? You sit down and you work really hard or not super hard, depends on the day, and for hours and hours until you get really tired, and then maybe you will push yourself a little bit more and continue sitting there, but you might be checking Facebook here, checking Twitter here, checking Snapchat here, and then finally get to a point where you're just so tired, you go, I can't do it anymore, and you stop. Okay, so that's maybe the preconception of how you usually work. That might also be a pattern. The second step to hacking is to observe the patterns of how you usually do something and see if you can find like a little bug, right? Kind of like a little virus in the computer, and fix that bug or find a better way of doing it. So maybe what you do is you start observing your patterns when you're studying. And maybe what you notice is, wow, it usually takes me 10 hours to complete a project, but when I'm cramming for a deadline, and the deadline is tomorrow, I am so fast. I can get so much more work done. I'm way more productive. I'm like a creative genius. I come up with all these ideas, and I'm so focused. When my friends are texting me, I ignore it. I don't check Instagram. I don't check Facebook. I'm just in flow. Now, let's think about it. You may feel like I'm like this superhero when I have this deadline, but honestly, the you when you are cramming for a deadline and the you that is just living your everyday life are the same person. That potential and that power is inside you waiting to be unleashed. So your hacking process might be simply figuring out what are those conditions that bring my potential out when I'm cramming for a deadline. And you can figure out how you can use that in your everyday life when you're doing work. You want to figure out what's the most effective process for you. Focus on the result, and you can become an excellent hacker. There are some really awesome world-class experts like what we were talking about earlier. People like Jim Quick, people like Tim Ferriss, people like Steve Kotler. Go find out who they are online. They offer excellent courses, blogs, videos that are great at helping you figure out how you can hack your life, hack your learning, hack your flow, or even do biohacking, which I'm really passionate about as well, which is hacking your body, how to reprogram the biochemistry of your body. But that's a different TED Talk. let's take a look at the last one, which is mindset training. Mindset training is what I think the most important skill that you need. It may be the most obvious, but it's the most important one. As you are now starting to take charge of your own education, and you're starting to create your own curriculum, and you are taking charge of your own learning journey, people around you might doubt you. They might make fun of you. You might start doubting yourself. What if I'm not good enough? What if I procrastinate and I don't finish these courses on time? It's kind of like pointless. What if I'm just not good at teaching myself? As you start, you're going to go through some tough points. You're going to go through some low points. You're going to start feeling overwhelmed. You might feel discouraged. You might get distracted. All of these are reasons why you need a strong inner game. You will experience failures because success is nothing but a series of well-managed failures. So learning how to master that inner game is pretty important, wouldn't you say? How do most people do it? Most people learn it through life experience. Along the way, we as adults fall and fail and become a little stronger inside each time. Along the way, we as adults enhance and build up our persistence, our confidence, our grit. Along the way, we learn to self-validate instead of depending on external validation from your friends or Instagram followers. But if these are skills, then these are skills that you can hack and you can master. You don't have to wait for decades to master it. I would say most adults probably takes them 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to master this inner game. But you, unlike generations before you, have a lot more resources. There are a lot of different tools that you can find online. Anything from courses or videos done by motivational speakers such as Tony Robbins, to courses on neuro-linguistic programming and state control, to maybe even something small and simple like an app on meditation on your phone. All of these will help you hack and speed up the process of strengthening your inner game. So you guys are pretty lucky. I want you guys to remember that learning, at the end of the day, is about helping you become the best version that you can be. And keep that in mind. You already have all the power inside you to make you the best version that you can be. All you need now is to unleash that power. Remember that it's not your fault that the education system is broken. But now, it's your responsibility to take charge of your own education. Thank you.